So let's look at examples of the perfect press release. Now, before we start off with press releases, right, we need to know what we want to write first of all. Okay, you can't just simply start a press release based from nothing. So we create what is known as a message house. And a message house is basically a one pager containing a one pager summary containing your problem statement, your headline, and key things that you want to appear in the event or you want people to take note of. So this was a message house done for a launch of the MyExpat Services Center. So MyExpat is a subsidiary of my former company that actually deals with all the employment passes for expatriates as well as the returning as well as the resident pass talent, which is a 10-year visa for expatriate talent. Okay, so they deal with a lot of foreign embassies, foreign chambers of commerce. They deal with a lot of employers. So the launch took place sometime last year, February 2019. So prior to this, in November and or December, when we started planning for the event, this was the summary of what we wanted the event to tell. Um, so that means if we get a VIP to come in, what do we want the VIP to say? So we want to emphasize things like, expats are not here to take jobs away. They're here to create job opportunities and benefit Malaysia's economy. We want to emphasize that Malaysia is a good place for expats and what our company does for talent mobilization or expatriate talent. So this is a one pager that of information that we have, and then based on this one pager we go out and we prepare the press release. So this is how the press release looks like. So the standard format, okay, would be you would have your company letterhead and logo. So because Talent Corporation is a government agency, you have the Jata Negara or the government emblem. Then you have the word press release. You have the words embargoed to 12 noon because the event was taking place in the morning. So I don't want reporters to come and then they hear this, they see it, and they push out the news before the end of the event. So this event, the Minister of Human Resources then had to attend this event, do the launch. He was supposed to go around, do a trip, have a speech downstairs, things like that, and then go back upstairs to our office to do the press conference. So while this was happening, you notice based on the structure that I gave you in the PowerPoint. So the top here would be your headline. Okay. So this is what we want the angle to be. And then these are the summary bullet points. Okay, expatriates welcome to fill critical gaps in the workforce, and then who we're partnering with to get this done. And then the format is like this. So all the information here is actually taken, if not adjusted, from the message house. So we start off with the 4 W's and 1 H, which is basically what is this story about? So the Minister of Human Resources says that the government wants to ensure Malaysians are the first priority. Okay, but he goes on to add that we're working in partnership with Talent Corp and things like that. So my company's press release structure is very straightforward. The first para is always the hook or the angle. We call it the hook because we want a sort of clickbaity feel without the empty hollowness that you often get sometimes. So this is called a hook. Then we always have a quote from the VIP before we talk about everything else. And the event only pops up in the last couple of paragraphs where we have two ministers. The Deputy Minister of Home Affairs was there. We get a quote from him as well because he's a VIP. Then we insert what we talked about during the event, which was basically a new center, new system, online payment. And finally, we end it with what is the My Expat Center? So what is your company, what they do? And finally, issued when? Who do we contact if members of the press have more information, more questions that they need? So they contact who? And then finally, this is what is known as a boilerplate. So a boilerplate is a one para summary of your organization and its subsidiaries. Okay? And this is how a press release looks like. This will then be translated into different languages. So for this event, we translated this press release into Chinese, Malay, and Tamil. There was one event where we translated the press release into French as well. Or rather, we did a partnership with the Malaysian French Chamber of Commerce, and they assisted in sharing the French translated version with us. Okay, so let's go back to the presentation. Now, what do you keep in mind? What to keep in mind when writing a news release? So, like I mentioned, it's a similar writing style with journalism. So we're talking about the inverted pyramid. So you have your leads or the hook. So your four W's and one H, followed by less important information. Um, it's the good to know kind of thing. And then finally, you have your quotes and then the end. So very simply put it, you have three parts. You have one part is the opening, which is the lead. Second part is your good to haves, and then the third part would be the least important, but it's great if you put it in, but you can take it out and it's still okay. So, couple of tips to keep in mind. The headline must be a quick indication of what the news release is about, and it has to contain the company name. The reason why is because when you go on Google and search, if you don't put in your company name, it is not going to pop up in search engines. So press releases need to have company names because it's all about branding. So if you look at, for example, let's talk about Nestle. You look at Nestle, everything there has Nestle, 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 Nestle. Nestle South Africa. This is the main HQ of Nestle, Nestle Malaysia. Okay, only one article or one title doesn't have the company name, but the ideal situation is that you need to have it. Okay, with the Prime Minister's office goes without saying. Okay, if we look at EPF, for example, let's let it load. It will have EPF, 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 okay? EPF, 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 EPF. So everything needs to have the company name because when you search, it has to pop out. Then dateline, DATE, is the start of the lead paragraph. It's the date, basically 28 February, 27 February, 1st March, all right, followed by the location. And finally, the lead. So the lead is basically about 1 to 3 sentences. The first para, and it's a summary or straight lead, meaning you have all the information in the first para already, written in active voice. Sometimes you will find some press releases have a question. For example, what increased petrol prices? Question mark. Okay. And of course, a description of the organization that would be your boilerplate. Now, what are some other formats of news release that we use? There is the online version, and it's usually an email of about 200 to 250 words. The contact information is, of course, provided at the bottom. There are no attachments, and here you need to be very careful with the subject line because the editor would be the editor or even the organization that is receiving the press release would receive a lot of emails. So your email subject needs to be attractive and stand out. Pictures are often embedded and quotes are highlighted. We don't usually do multimedia news release, meaning we share the image on social media or through SEOs. We don't do a lot of that. What we do is we upload it onto the website. Okay? We park in tags and keywords like what you saw with the EPF and Nestle website. And then we share and socialize the link on various social media accounts, like, for example, Twitter, um, Facebook. Okay, so if we go to EPF, you can try, let's see whether we can find it on Twitter. Okay, KWSP. So KWSP Malaysia. So this is EPF's website, Twitter account. So see here they have your announcement. Okay. Um, they don't really do that much by sharing their media statements. They will do this as well. You have a thread, okay, and then they'll make their announcement here. And this is the full media release actually that they have put in. Okay. The difference here is that there's no boilerplate, there's no contact number for further information. It just ends there. Okay. Now, just to share with you, this is how that same My Expat news release appeared on the website. And we actually sent out an email as well to editors. And this is how the email looks like. So this is the title, the subject email, subject header. This is the body. Okay. Now at the press conference, there were some questions asked. So we had to give out numbers to reporters. So what we did was we took some time, got the numbers, put it in this email and sent it out. So you see here today's press release in English and Malay, 3 photos with captions. Talking points are basically the speeches. Okay. And we provided them with an FAQ of My Expat and the services. So these are the captions. And then if you have any questions, please feel free to contact the team at COMS. So this is what we do when we send out the news release to media. So here you don't see any twos because the list is BCC. We don't want people to know who we send it to. All right. So after this, I'm going to talk about photos and the impact of photos on a news release and why it's important to pick the right photos.